Ladies and gentlemen, and kids, we're so glad to see so many young people here for this occasion. We're so very fortunate to have the casino. This is the cradle of American tennis. The first U.S. championships played on these lawns in 1881. And as we bring our inductees to elevate them to the International Tennis Hall of Fame, I want them to know, as they wander around here, that there are a lot of ghosts, a lot of friendly ghosts of all your predecessors, all the great champions of the past. They're up there. They're around here. Make their acquaintance. Before we begin, I'd like to have just a moment's silence for a former great in our game, a Hall of Famer, Gladys Heldman, who died 3 weeks ago. She was the plotter behind the Long Way Babies, when these women, Billie Jean King, Rosie Casals, Francoise Durr, broke away from the men. If I'm kindly, I'll say the men were rats. But anyway, they set it up on their own. They had to do it. And as Billie Jean and Rosie and Francoise and the others preached, Gladys plotted their future. We miss her very much. This is also an occasion, I think, to remember a golden anniversary of a Hall of Famer who's no longer with us, Little Mo, Maureen Conley. 50 years ago, emulating Don Budge, she made the second Grand Slam. Australia, France, Wimbledon, the United States in the same year. She was to precede two other women, Margaret Court and Steffi Graf, and of course, the double winner, Rod Laver. Vic Seixas is here, and this is a golden anniversary for him. Wimbledon champion, 1953. I'm glad to see you here because all of you are lovers of this game, as are the players to be enshrined. This game that gives us so many thrills, so many heart palpitations, sometimes disappointments, but to play it is the thing. Whether you're one of the greats whom we're meeting today or the hackers like most of us, we love this game of tennis. So come back to see us every year at the museum. To paraphrase a general named MacArthur, I'll say old tennis players, they certainly don't die. They live forever in our memories. And we have such wonderful memories of these four today. I'd like you to meet your host now, Tony Trabert, a golden anniversary for him too. He won his first U.S. championship in 1953, and of course, he's a Hall of Famer and an all-timer. Tony Trabert.
Thank you, Bud. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. We don't want to make you stand for an hour. Welcome to the 2003 enshrining ceremonies of the International Tennis Hall of Fame. On the hallowed grounds of the Newport Casino, we will be honoring four very talented individuals. On these grounds, the very first United States National Championships were played, now known as the U.S. Open. It is one of the four most important Grand Slam tournaments, and all our enshrinees that we'll be honoring today have had or made enormous accomplishments at one or more of the big four. But those aren't their only endeavors. They are just part of the reason why we are honoring them here today. To help us enshrine Boris, Frankie, Nancy, and Brian, some special people are here who help them set goals and achieve their dreams. It is my pleasure to introduce to you some of the special guests seated on the Bill Talbot Stadium court. Friends stick by us through thick and thin, and these friends really wanted to be part of this celebration. They have traveled from far and near to be with Boris, Frankie, Nancy, and Brian today to honor their accomplishments. At this time, I'd like to ask the friends of our enshrinees to please rise. Then there are the families. They see us at our best, and they see us at our worst. and they still support, encourage, and love us no matter what. Today we have a lot of family here to celebrate our enshrinees' accomplishments. May I ask the families of the enshrinees to please stand.
We'll be back with more live on the Tennis Channel. We're at the induction ceremonies from Newport.
Seated to my left are a group of individuals who spend countless hours, days, months, and years making this place the finest institution for celebrating the history of tennis, past and present. Please join me in welcoming the International Tennis Hall of Fame's Executive Committee. Please rise. Thank you very much. And now for our official party, seated directly behind me, the first member of the official party, the chairman of the International Tennis Hall of Fame, Mr. Jan Leschly. The president of the International Tennis Federation, an executive committee member of the International Tennis Hall of Fame, Francoise Durr. Francesco. Next, I'd like to present to you the individuals who will be introducing our new enshrinees. Boris's former manager, Jan Tiriak.
Welcome back to center court here at the Newport Casino. The induction ceremonies are underway.
Frankie's good
Tony
friend, the
Traber
1987 Hall of Famer, Billie
President
Jean King.
Of the International Tennis Hall of Fame.
Our 1976 Hall of Famer, Dick Savitt, will be honoring Nancy Richey. And I'll have the great honor of introducing my good friend and now Hall of Famer, Brian Tobin. We also have some fellow Hall of Famers in attendance today. Elected in 1996, Rosie Casals. The premier tennis broadcaster, writer, and historian, elected in 1994, Bud Collins. The man who John McEnroe finally tied for the most Davis Cup matches played, 1971 Hall of Famer, Vic Seixas. Our 2002 enshrinee was Martina's favorite doubles partner, Pam Shriver. In 1927, at the youthful age of 15, he was the youngest entrant ever at Wimbledon, and he won the championship in 1931. Please welcome 1964 Hall of Famer, Sidney Wood. Sidney. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce our first enshrinee, who comes to us from Australia. Brian Tobin has spent most of adult life to the growth of tennis as one of the most admired administrators. Let us honor him and fellow Australians by playing the Australian national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. Brian Tobin has devoted over 45 years of his life to the game of tennis. A member of Tennis Australia since 1964, he served as president from 1977 to 1989. During that time, he oversaw the building and opening of the current stadium for the Australian Open, complete with a retractable roof. He was involved with the governing body of tennis, the International Tennis Federation, for over 20 years. He served as a president from 1991 to 1999, and upon his retirement, he was designated its lifetime honorary president. During his leadership of the ITF, he greatly enhanced the operation of the Davis Cup, Fed Cup, and Olympic tennis. Because of his business foresight and progressive thinking, he prepared the ITF to grow and carry out the mission of the governing body for years to come. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my distinct honor to introduce to you Mr. Brian Tobin. Brian?
Thank you, Tony. I'll try and speak English. Tony, Francoise, Nancy, Boris, other Hall of Famers are here, players. Let's face it, they're the most important element we have here these days, are the players. And distinguished guests, all of you. Tony, thank you for your very kind words. I am sure if we had more time here, you could think of a lot more to say about me, but I'm very happy with that. I must say I felt a bit embarrassed and a bit of an imposter when I was invited to join with these great legends of tennis here to be a member of the International Tennis Hall of Fame. However, after I've listened to you, Tony, a couple of times, I think I was probably wrong. I think I should be here. You're right. So I'm now a bit more relaxed about it, and of course, I'm very honoured to be elected as a member in the contributor category at the Hall of Fame here at Newport. I believe there are probably only 5 or 6 in the contributor category which are still living. So I'm pleased that my peers found enough votes to have me inducted, and particularly while I'm still alive. It's good news, thank you. This is a wonderful institution. We hear a lot talked about it, but it is, and it perpetuates all that is good in our game. It's made it so popular here, a game that's been going for more than 100 years, and next year it's 50 years for the Hall of Fame. So I'm very proud to be part of it. I actually played here in the tournament before most of you were born. I think it was about 1967, and we were runner-up in the doubles here. I don't remember who beat us because there was a fog worse than there was yesterday, and I don't think we ever saw who we were playing against, but they beat us. If I have been able to make a contribution to the game of tennis, well, then I'm pleased. I spent a lot of time in Australia and more recently at the International Tennis Federation trying to spread the game around the world. And as I say, if I've had any success in that effort, I'm very pleased. But the reality is that tennis has done a lot more for me and my wife Carmen than we could ever do for it. But I'm very grateful. And I'm delighted to see so many of my friends here, many of them tennis legends themselves who I've looked up to. Also my successor at the ITF, President Francoise Richey. It's been a big weekend. But finally, I wanted to say a big thank you from Carmen and me to Mark Stenning and all his staff here at Newport. They make your visit to the tournament such a pleasant one, and they make ours such a memorable one. We're having a great time. I thank you.
Brian, I have the enshrinement certificate for you. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our 2003 enshrinee, Brian Tobin. Congratulations.
And so Brian Tobin now inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame. We'll be back with more right after this.
Our next enshrinee is a born Texan, Nancy Richey. Let us honor her with the playing of the Star-Spangled Banner. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise.
So proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the
here. Tennis Channel, we're at the induction ceremony center court at the Newport Casino. Let's go back to Tony Traver. He's in charge while the Star-Spangled Banner is being played in honor of Nancy Richey.
Thank you. To introduce Nancy today is the 1976 Hall of Famer, Dick Savitt. He was one of 9 people to win Wimbledon on his first try. Dick also has the distinction of winning both the Australian and Wimbledon titles in the same year. Only 2 other Americans have done that. One was Don Budge, and the other Jimmy Connors. Ladies and gentlemen, Dick Savitt.
Thank you, Tony. It's an honor for me today to introduce Nancy Richey to the International Tennis Hall of Fame. I knew Nancy's family before there was a Nancy. Anyway, I'd like to say hello to Betty Richey down in San Angelo, Texas, and George Richey, who was a fine player and a fine teaching professional. And, of course, her brother Cliff, who was a great player. And probably Nancy and Cliff were the best sister-brother team of all time. I don't think they ever played mixed doubles. I would never want to play with Cliff myself. So anyway, all the best, Cliff. I know you're having a hip operation, and I hope it's all successful, and I'm sure it will be. I could go on talking about Nancy, kind of competitor she was, the kind of sportswoman she was, but I have a lot of results here that Nancy had a great, great career, and there's no way I could remember all her successes, so I'll try to briefly read some of them. Nancy won the Australian in 1967. She was also a finalist in the Australian 1966, where she was a doubles winner at the same time. She was the French champion in 1968, was a finalist in 1966, and the double finalist in 1969. In the U.S. Championships in the Open in 1966 and 1969, she was a finalist and the doubles winner in 1965 and 1966. In Wimbledon, she won the doubles in 1966 and was a finalist in the doubles in 1967. She also won the South American Championships in 1964, the Italian in 65, and she won the Virginia Slims in 1973. She was a member of the Federation Cup in 3 years, 64, 68, 69. She also played in the Whiteman Cup for 8 years, from 1962 to 70. And Nancy was a great, great clay court player, proven by the fact she won the U.S. Clay Championship 6 consecutive times, from 1963 to 1968, which is some tough feat. And Nancy was very steady, hard-working, and all the ladies didn't want to particularly play her on a clay court. She number 2 in the world in 1969, and number 1 in USA in 64, 65, 68, and 69. So you can see why she's entitled to be a member of the International Tennis Hall of Fame, and I'm proud to introduce her today. It's your turn, Nance. Come on up.
It is a tremendous honor to be here today in such distinguished company. I want to congratulate my fellow inductees, Boris Becker, Francoise Durr, and Brian Tobin, and to offer thanks to the nominating committee as well as the various panels who voted on our nominations. Thanks also to everyone here at the International Tennis Hall of Fame, especially Kira Cortez and Ken Yellis, for making this event both memorable and enjoyable. A special thanks to my best friend, Mary Miller, who came from England to be here with me today, and my lifelong friends, Judy and Gordon Adelot, who are also here for this occasion. My niece, Dr. Hilaire Callendorf, also braved a plane flight from Texas with her 4-year-old son so as not to miss this special moment. I want to take this opportunity, too, to tell Dick Savitt how he inspired me to play tennis when I was 10 years old, watching him practice with my dad at the Houston Country Club. He had just come back from winning Wimbledon, and I remember watching him and thinking, if I listen to my dad and practice hard, maybe I can play there someday, too. Dick, you probably never realized what an inspiration you were to me. Finally, although they could not travel to be here this afternoon, I wish to remember my parents, George and Betty Richey, who were also my coach and my biggest supporter through the years. Without my dad, who spent untold hours on the court with me, I probably never would have had a tennis career. And last but not least, I want to thank my brother, Cliff, who was not only my practice partner and #1 fan, but also my best friend, who saw me through many of my most memorable matches. Thank you, Cliff. As I stand here today, I cannot help reflecting upon my career and the historic milestones for women's tennis which it encompassed. I'll never forget the day in 1969 when Billie Jean King and Rosie Casals and I were sitting around in the locker room at Forest Hills, lamenting the fact that as women in a men's sport, we had few tournaments to play. And for the ones we could play, we received small reward. Wimbledon had just decided the year before to open its championships to professionals and amateurs alike, thus inaugurating the open era of tennis. The men did not want to share the prize money with the women and suggested that we go out and start our own circuit. So the three of us went to Gladys Heldman, owner and editor of World Tennis Magazine, to ask for her help in starting a women's tour. She took the idea to Joe Kuhlman, CEO of Philip Morris, and he put up the $7,500 prize money for the first Virginia Slims Women's Pro Tournament held at the Houston Racquet Club 3 weeks later. The original 9 girls signed a contract with Gladys for $1 so that we could start our own circuit. Shortly thereafter, the Women's Tennis Association was formed. And that's really the story of how it all began. As I look back over the years, I can now more fully appreciate my position on the threshold between one era and another. I feel fortunate to have experienced both eras, the closed and the open, the amateur and the professional. I enjoyed being an amateur because we played only for the love of the game. I enjoyed the excitement of being one of the rebels who was not willing to accept a second-class role for women in sports. And I've continued to enjoy watching the evolution of the game to the point that now women can make a really good living playing the wonderful game of tennis. And I'm glad I got to be a part of it all. And my final thanks goes to the Lord God for his blessings over a lifetime of trusting him one step at a time. Thank you.
Nancy, we have an enshrinement certificate for you. Congratulations and welcome to the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
We'll be back with more live on the Tennis Channel. The induction ceremonies here from Newport. Stay with us.
Our next enshrinee comes to us from France. Her name is Francoise Durr. May I ask you all to stand for the playing of the French national anthem.
French national anthem on center court here, the Bill Talbert Center Court at the Newport Casino.
That can please be seated.
Francoise Durr. Let's go back to Tony Traper.
To introduce Frankie today as a fellow women's tennis advocate, she founded the Women's Tennis Association in 1973 and the Women's Sports Foundation in 1974 to increase opportunities for female athletes. Not only that, but she had a pretty impressive record on the tennis courts as well. Please welcome the 1987 Tennis Hall of Famer, Billie Jean King. Billie?
Thank you. It was fun standing next to Frankie during her anthem. Didn't understand one word. But Francoise, Frankie we call her, Durr, was born in Algiers in 1942. Sorry, Frankie, had to give your age away. Some of her wonderful accomplishments, she won 12 Grand Slam titles, including the French in 1967. She's only one of 6 French women to do so. She won 5 straight French doubles championships, 67 through 71, with different partners, mixed in 68, 71, 73. She's had 26 career titles, 10 Fed Cups she's played. She also was an MVP. She played World Team Tennis 5 years, and the Denver Rackets won the first championship ever, and she was, as I said, the MVP there. In 1993, she was appointed the first director of women's tennis for the French Federation. She's won the ITF Service Award. She also helped with the last 8 club at the French, and it just opened this year. And I must say, it was wonderful to have that positive addition there, and she was very instrumental in that. Enough of the accomplishments. I want to talk about the person. Frankie. There's nothing like Frankie. I really got to know her in 1968 and 69 when we were contract pros, along with Rosie Casals and Ann Jones. There was Pancho Gonzalez, Andres Jimeno, Ken Rosewall, Roy Emerson, Fred Stolley, and Rod Laver. We were all together for 2 years. And as Rosie Casals said, we went through France in 30 days, but we went really, it seemed like it lasted about 20 years, because every single night we were playing under not great conditions. But Frankie's the one that kept the 10 of us, all 6 men and 4 women, happy. She brought her guitar, had us singing every night, got us through that, would go dancing. But I want to talk about her game. Oh my goodness. I don't know how many of you ever got to see Francoise play, but she's the only player, probably professional player, that beat her serve to net. She also had her index finger straight up the racket. This is the way she held the racket. This is the way. I'll never forget it. I can remember hitting a chip up the line. She's over on the forehand side. She's running across. Remember, she's got the littlest feet, littlest hands, tiniest little wrist with this grip. Now, she should break her wrist every time she hits the ball, right? So I remember chipping up the line. I see this flash go across. I see her whip and flash this shot. I was passed one more time down the line. I can't believe she could do this with a slice and a side spin to it. She had unbelievable accuracy. And everybody in the stands could not understand why they couldn't beat her themselves. Until they'd play her in a pro-am. And then they'd go, oh my goodness, now I get it. And how about when she poached in doubles? She got a high backhand volley. I just ducked. I knew I would never see it. I couldn't figure out where it was going, and I just turned around so I wouldn't get hurt. Just unbelievable backhand volley. Because it was impossible to ever imagine her hitting a topspin, of course she names her dog, her Airedale, Topspin. And he used to come out on the court with a rack between his teeth when she was presented in the early days of the Virginia Slims Tour. So we always had a good time. At Wimbledon, she's changing ends, and it was her first time there, and she gets to the other end, and She's looking around. She says, I am so nervous. I can't see anything. She forgot her glasses. And did she have a temper? Oh, yeah. We love Frankie's temper. We learned a lot of new French words. Swear words, obviously. But Frankie is an unbelievable ambassador to our sport. She's got friends all over the world. I think she's very underappreciated. I think Nancy is also very underappreciated. The early days of trying to get women's tennis going, thanks to Gladys Hellman and to Joe Coleman. But Frankie was always there, willing to do anything to make it possible. She's also helped women's tennis in France so much. It's really come far because of her. So Frankie, you also married an American, which there it is. Boyd Browning, he's over there, and her daughter Jessica's here. She'll introduce him, I'm sure. But thanks for being here for your mom and for your wife. And Frankie is not only a champion of tennis. She's, as I said earlier, a great ambassador, but also for equal rights for both men and women. Please welcome Francoise Frankie Durr. Francoise.
Thank you, Billy. Ladies and gentlemen, I can stand here today when 30 years ago with Billie Jean, Rosie, Ann Jones, we signed a contract with George McCall. We thought we could go here, but we never thought we could have been that way. And we came a long way, baby, since then. It's such an honor to be here today, but my joy is a little reduced because Gladys Hellman is not there. Without her, we will never have done what we done in women's tennis. I will miss her a lot. I want to thank you a lot of people too, Billie Jean, for being here today, and for a friendship and for leadership over the years. My coach, Joseph Stolpa, I'm sorry he could not be here today, but he was the one we understood, even with my funny game, I could be a winner. Special thanks to Carl Grant, to Anna Bowman, to Ilana Klaus, and to Chamita Labour, and of course my husband and my daughter, for the support and for the faith that one day my day will come. Special thanks too to Mark Stenin and Ken Yellen we work so hard to make things happen so well on this special day for my family. To Joe Coleman and Philip Morris, not just for the commercial backing, but for the first-class way they treat us. I'm honored to share this day with Nancy, Brian, and Boris. Boris and I bring much needed attention to the European player who have been somewhat underrepresented here in Newport. Brian has been a friend, a long-standing, and someone with love of the game is very well known. Nancy, what can I say? With my backhand and my serve, and your hat and your short, we were not the typical players. From the first day of the tour, at the Anaheim Oranges in World Tennis, we share a lot of love and tears. I'm happy to be here today. I want to say the special thing to a touching moment for me. At Roland Garros last month, Elena Stas came up to me and said, I know how disappointed it must be for you that no one in your country appreciates the honor of you being inducted in the International Hall of Fame. When I was inducted in 1991, it was the same for me in Romania. Could this have been a perfect day for me? Only if my dog Topspin could have brought my racket on the court one more time. Thank you for all being there.
Francoise, you're certificate. Congratulations and welcome to the International Tennis Hall of Fame. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce our final enshrinee, Boris Becker. To honor Boris and his fellow countrymen, please rise for the German national anthem. Before he started his career in tennis, Jan Tiriac was an Olympic hockey player. Once he turned his attention and athleticism to tennis, he and his fellow countryman Ilie Nastase led the Romanian Davis Cup team to 3 impressive finals. He has the distinction of being ranked 6th in all-time Davis Cup matches played. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jan Tiriac.
Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me first to say that I'm honored that I have the right to speak to this mic. Second, I thank Boris that he elected me to make the speech for introducing him in the Tennis Hall of Fame. But now it becomes his problem that he let me have this mic in front of me. Anyhow, if I'm in front of you here, it's due to a coincidence that happened almost 20 years ago. Probably I was at the wrong time, in the right place, or in the wrong place at the wrong time. I don't know, something like that. Anyhow, those days I used to be somebody in tennis. You know, I used to be somebody that everybody looked at me, particularly young players. I used to be a coach, I used to be a manager, mother, father, uncle, everything that a player could have those days. And I used to have a friend who was born in Romania those days, and was a friend at those days, not anymore, who pulled me out of the court and my daily bread and butter business, 6 hours with Vilas every single day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, to take me all the way to the last court in Monte Carlo to show me a young little German junior who might become something one day because he was different. The only thing he said, he was different. Now, I didn't know any much or anything about German tennis. The only thing I knew those days that they didn't have anybody in the top 50. So I made the 500 meters all the way to the top. And to be honest with you, the trip was worth it because I saw something that I never saw in my life before. Now, the little junior was not that little anymore, was playing tennis, hitting a tennis ball from any position more than I ever saw any time or anything or with anybody in my life. And by 85, 84, I had them all, starting with Nastase to Vilas, with Leconte to Panatta, with Panatta to Orantes. All of them went through my hands from the very young age. This German could hit the ball from up down, from down up, from the middle, from everywhere, in any single position, and as hard he could. And strangely enough, the ball went in the court. But from the beginning, I say we have a problem. He looked little bit more as a sumo wrestler on his legs than as a tennis player. And I say it's impressive the way it is, but what the hell are you going to do with his legs? Anyhow, to make the story short, because I understand McEnroe's talk 47 minutes and I have the right to talk only 45. Not short term. I had a little discussion after his match there because he won the match. And I say, son, the legs, you really don't moving. I don't need to move my legs. What do you mean you don't need to move? Well, I'm hitting so hard that the ball doesn't come back, and then I don't have a problem. Why should I move? So I figured out from the beginning that it's an easy task to talk to this youngster. It's going to be easy to make him do whatever you want to do with him, no problem. So the facts of life were very easy. I say, listen, that's not a problem with me. I want to do a test with you. Right away. What test? Say, I would like you to play a month, to train a month with that left-hander that is there. But be careful, he plays 6 hours a day. No problem. Kein Problem. I wanted to see kein Problem. Those days, tennis was not like today. Hit and run and finish out. The kings of the road, if you remember, were Mr. Borg and Mr. Vilas that used to play. And they used to start counting after 101, 102, 103, 105, and the ball came all the way up. And I was wondering how he's going to do it. But believe it or not, after a month, he was still around. Now, I had enough experience to realize that his shoulder bumped up, and he was not the boy that he used to be a month before, anyhow. And I asked him, how are you doing? He said, fine, no problem. Anyhow, when I say goodbye, he shake my left hand, not my right hand. Well, that's how my story, 11-year-old, daily story started with Mr. Boris Becker. Was never a dull moment. Never, ever. Trust me. And I had them all. I pulled Nastase out of the U.S. Open when he wanted to put his pants down. I took LeConte out of the court when he couldn't count to 3. And I had this guy on my hands. That, of course, we had to start. Mr. Chairman, how many minutes I have? I have another 3 minutes. 1 minute. Okay. I have to do something about his legs. So those days, when indoor season started in Europe, you have 32, 48 draw in one hole. So you had to do something and make a deal under the table with the organizer. And my deal always was that they have to open the hole at 4:30 in the morning. Because from 5 o'clock to 7:30, nobody would train. So I had my 2.5 hours at least to train with Vilas. When I told him the first time, son, tomorrow morning at 4:30 we start up because he was to play qualifying, and you have to do for about 1.5 hours stairs. What do you mean stairs? Yeah, I show you, don't worry about it. So he went to the tennis court and I started going, I say, you see those stairs? I count them, they are 420. And if you come the other way, they are 840, and so on. And what am I supposed to do? Go up and down, up and down. Why? Because you are not fast enough and your legs are not good. I'm going to do that. That was for 10 years. Anyhow, first was I am not going to do, and after 5 minutes, it was up and down, up and down, up and down. Actually, hitting with Vilas, I had time enough to watch him up and down because the ball came up and down, back, and so on. And that would drag about another 2, 3, 4 months, playing all the qualifying, winning here, losing there with the rucksack with the pack in his back and 3 rackets and going all over. The man or the junior or the young man wanted more than anybody ever I saw in my life. And that made him and probably break him all his life. He wanted more. Anyhow, at the end of the day, when he started playing a little bit better, one day he comes and says, listen, why don't you put Vilas to do the stairs? And I play the tennis. I say, because Vilas runs fast enough. And I run faster than Vilas. And actually we did it, and he was almost there. And I give him credit for that. Anyhow, I can tell you another story. Boris, when I'm going to write a book about you, you are going to disappear, man. Anyhow, that was our story, for good or bad. And for 11 years, we went head to head, all the time. But these 11 years, nobody ever made me a gift like Mr. Boris Becker. And I remember, even before he won Wimbledon, discussing, Boris, if you have a break point, try to play the ball back, because you have to give a chance to your opponent to miss. No. What do you mean no? I have to put it on the line. Yeah, but Boris, the line is only 2 inches, you might put it an inch out. Doesn't matter. If I put it on the line, the moment it counts. Yeah, Boris, but if you have 10 break points, you put 10 back, I promise you, I sign you that 3 of them he's going to miss. Doesn't matter. No. When it's important, I'm going to put it on the line. Well, put it on line or put it on line. To make the story short, I believe that some of you at least remember that Mr. Boris Becker won his first Wimbledon, being 3 match points down on the serve of a certain Swede called Nystrom, and 3 times he put a bloody ball on the line. Now, being a manager or a coach, how in the hell do you handle that afterwards? And to continue the story, he won the US Open for match point down in the 2nd round. He won Australian, and then he disappeared for about half an hour watching the water going under the bridge. That he was one of a kind. But then again, how many of these guys would we like to have this year? Because I was his manager, sometimes his coach. And I was a long time, and I am his friend. And I see his family here, his 2 beautiful sons, their mother, the friends that he invited. He is the same human being that he was. And besides being a great tennis player, he always might be a little bit strange, but was a great human being. I tell you the last one, and then I go. It's a big player. I don't know how many Grand Slams and so on. He plays German Open. Plays German Open, of course. Mr. Becker playing German Open, you had a record television, 38 million viewers that hold it about 10 years before the Soccer World Championship came. 4 o'clock in the morning playing in Indianapolis. He had 4 or 5 million people watching him at 4 o'clock in the morning. So figure out who to play, who. And say, Kyriak, I need 100 tickets. I say, what the hell you need 100 tickets? Your family has. Everybody has. No, I need 100 tickets. Why do you need 100 tickets? So listen, I was eating in the harbor last night, and there are so many people on the street there, and they are poor guys begging, sleeping on the street and so on. They have the right, once in their life, to have a joy and to see something. Well, how in the hell am I going to go in the harbor with 100 tickets for tennis and spread them around the people that sleep on the street? Oh, you can do that. Don't worry. And I had to do it. And actually, even I have letters that I give it from these people. But this is Boris Becker. Today you read in a newspaper one thing, to read another one. And I'm going to bite my tongue now before I finish. And I'm going to say, Boris, stay the way you are. Be healthy. Be the man you be. And give back to this sport who made you what you are today. How you give all the time until now. And we are all going to be happy for you. Thank you, Boris.
Thank you. Give a hand to Jan Kyriak here. So thank you very much. Can you believe that it's been almost 20 years since we met? First as a coach and then a manager, and became my most important tennis mentor. As you said, over 10 years. It's been difficult at times, but to say the least, and I'm going to also could tell you many stories, but again, the example of Megan showed us we shouldn't talk too long, so we just keep it short and nice and tight. No, it's a big honor here to be included in this Tennis Hall of Fame amongst my childhood heroes. Few of them have left us, but many of us are
behind, and it's a great, great honor, and also being the second German to be included. That's why I'm different, because it usually breaks something when I do, The first gentleman was called Baron Gottfried von Gramm, who was a Wimbledon finalist 3 times in the 30s. Unfortunately, passed away, so I'm trying to represent my country as much as I can here. It's been an incredible career. I couldn't have imagined when I was a little boy to be winning Wimbledon at 17 and then 18, then a few years later, again, reaching the final 7 times, winning the US Open then in the late 80s as well, and just having the possibility to do to become, a very decent tennis player, and to have overcome all, what I'm trying to do. Tennis was always my hobby. It was my passion, and to call that my job was something I couldn't have dreamed as a little boy. Obviously, I retired in 1999, and I went through some difficult times, and thanks to my friend Dr. Kleven, who came all the way from Germany yesterday, I was able to overcome and be here and healthy and ready to hopefully in other fields be as successful as I was in tennis. We happened to do the Hamburg, the German Open, which you were talking about together, and so I'm trying to give back to the sport that gave me so much to me. I want to thank my other friends who came, Waldemar Kliesing, Jovan Savic, and the president of the German Federation when I was the Wimbledon champion, Dr. Klaus Stauder, for joining me as well here. And last but not least, my family, representing Barbara and Noah and Elias. And, a word to you, Noah. You've been enjoying the tennis lately, and just keep practicing your serve, because maybe one day you'll be standing up here receiving a similar award. So thank you very much.
Boris, we have your enshrinement certificate. Congratulations and welcome to the Hall of Fame. In keeping with tradition, I would like to ask the newest members of the International Tennis Hall of Fame to take a walk around the Bill Talbert Center Court. Boris, Frankie, Nancy, and Brian, your families, friends, and fans await you.